And that is to find our post-closing trial balance. If you're using Quizlet, we can head over to Quizlet.
So if we use our auto-define right here for post-closing trial balance, certainly the first two are okay, but the third one is the one I want you to use, a list of permanent accounts. So remember, permanent is our assets equals liabilities plus owner's equity, and then their balances after a company has journalized and posted closing entries. And this after part is important because it is the last step of our accounting cycle.
Really what the post-closing trial balance is going to do for us is it's a final check that we've balanced our transactions and made sure that our debits equal our credits. So let's take a look at how we would fill out this post-closing trial balance. So it gets its own form, and as everything with its own form, the first thing we do is we do the heading, and that's going to include the company name, what type of statement we're doing. So we are doing the post-closing trial balance, so we'll write that. And then the date. And you'll see that we're taking all of the information for the post-closing trial balance from those finalized ledgers. And so if I look over at the ledger, the date is August 31st. That was our final entries. After we've completed the heading of our post-closing trial balance, we're ready to list out our account titles and balances. We are going to go in the exact order of our ledgers, which follows the exact order of our chart of accounts. So if I look at this first ledger that I have, it is cash. So I'm going to write cash. And then I'm going to look at the very bottom balanced line, and that is a debit of $4,964. So I'm going to put in my post-closing trial balance a debit of $4,964. Moving on to the next general ledger, I have petty cash. And that balance, the last thing in there is $100 of debit. Then I have accounts receivable to Oakdale Schools. The last balance listed there is $150 of a debit. Then I have accounts receivable Campus Internet Cafe. My final balance there was $100 in the debit. And then I have supplies, which has a final balance of $310. And finally, I list out prepaid insurance, which has a balance of $1,100. Now those were all of my asset accounts. I'm going to move on to my liability accounts, which is accounts payable. And that has a balance. Notice we're switching over here to the credit column. So I'm going to credit 200. Then I have another accounts payable to Thomas Supplies, which is only a credit of 50. And then I have Kim Park Capital, which is a credit of 6,474. So once I've listed out all of my account titles of, again, my permanent accounts, so my assets, liabilities, owner's equity, and their corresponding balances that I found in the general ledger, I'm going to do a rule underneath those lines. And then I'm going to list totals. So this is again where I'm totaling up my debit column and I'm totaling up my credit column, and I'm really hoping that debits equal credits. So if I'm totaling up my debit column, I'm going to take that 4,964 plus 100 plus 150 plus 100 plus 310 plus 1,100. I'm going to get 6,724. So I'm going to put that in the total of my debit. Now I'm going to do the same thing for my credit column. I'm going to take 200 plus 50 plus 6,474, and I'm going to get 6,724 that I place in the total of my credit column. And woohoo, we are so excited. Debits equal credits, so we are going to make sure we double rule underneath that the equal sign.
And that is the whole accounting cycle. So once again, huge recap because you have to know this cycle. The first thing we do is we get a list of our transactions. They look like those little source documents. Think way back to the beginning of the semester. The second thing we do is we journalize each transaction in the journal. From the journal, we post to the general ledger. The general ledger information is then used to do the worksheet. From the worksheet, we take our balance sheet columns and create the balance sheet, and the income statement and create the income statement. After that, we have to kind of go back and look at the adjusting column of the worksheet and redo half of our cycle, which is to journalize those adjusting entries, journalize our closing entries, and then we have to post those to the ledger. Finally, we're done after we've posted, and we can prepare the post-closing trial balance. And that completes the accounting cycle and everything you get to know for Accounting 1. So for your last section of Accounting 1, you are now going to have the 8-3 working together and on your own on Aplia, and then you have the 8-3 application problem on Aplia, and then there is one last 8-3 EOLR, which would be found on Schoology.